On Monday morning, the entry list for this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans was released. 62 cars are entered. That's 21 in Hypercar, 17 in LMP2, and 24 in LMGT3. Starting with Hypercar, the entry list is absolutely stacked with full season entries as well from the World Endurance Championship and 3 additional entries for Le Mans only. We'll see 2 entries from the Aston Martin Thor team, Toyota Gazoo Racing, Cadillac Hertz Team Jolta, BMW M Team WRT, Alpine Endurance Team, and the Peugeots as well. There are also 2 factory-backed entries from Ferrari AF Corsa and the regular AF Corsa entry to see the return of 3 prancing horses going for overall honours. We also have the customer Porsche entry from Proton Competition. And now let's take a look at the 3 Le Mans only entries as well. Porsche Penske Motorsports have 2 full-time entries entered, obviously, but they're adding a 3rd factory Porsche with Felipe Nasr and Nick Tandy representing the car from the IMSA WeatherTech Championship as well. There are 2 additional IMSA entries from Cadillac. Aston Martin Express Racing returned to Le Mans with Jack Aiken, Felipe Drugovich, and Frederick Vesti. One of the most notable additions is Wayne Taylor Racing receiving the invite, who plans to have Ricky Taylor, Jordan Taylor, and Philippe Albuquerque. Graphics in this segment courtesy of the FIA World Endurance Championship. Now, Wayne Taylor Racing has also been involved as well with a statement that's come out saying it has always been our plan to go to Le Mans with a shot at the overall win. When I was there with Cadillac in 2002, I was driving and both my kids were with me as spectators. Now, 20 years later, they are here driving for me with Cadillac. It's very exciting. Cadillac has built an amazing race car. This is such an important event, and to be competitive, you must arrive with everything in place. I believe we now have the car to beat. With the combination of Cadillac and our team partners at Jolta and AXR, we have a really strong organization. We are grateful to have a chance to compete at Le Mans. That's from Wayne Taylor, team principal, of course, at WTR. Kobe, starting with you on this one, I will try and get the camera, sorry if I'm still fuzzy. Does it seem like the battle for the overall win will be more competitive compared to last year? And how exciting will it be to see Wayne Taylor Racing at Le Mans?
Yeah, it seems like every single year it just gets better, right? The hypercar class is continuing to take off. We see these stacked driver lineups year after year in the battle for the overall win of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It seems like whenever you think it can't get better, it just does. It's just a really exciting time to be a sports car fan. I know I probably sound like a broken record by now if you heard my answers to the previous questions on past shows, but yeah, it is a really great time to be in sports car racing because we're in that golden age right now of prototype racing. All of these different manufacturers. I know right now the Ferraris might look like the favorites to repeat, especially after the season opener race in Qatar. We'll have more from the World Endurance Championship season opener and our Grid Endurance Performance Index update later on in the show. But it's just so amazing. I'm honestly speechless. You know, when you look at the entry list and you see all of these major names in sports car racing, all of these manufacturers, and there are so many cars who can potentially win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's obviously way too soon to say who's going to be my pick a winner for the 24 Hours of Le Mans because we still have a few more World Endurance Championship races to get through before we get down to the nitty gritty in the summertime. But there's at least 10, 11, 12, 13, maybe even 14 or 15 cars who could go out there and win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This is how competitive it is. And from IMSA, it's good to see that we're going to have an extra Porsche Penske Motorsport prototype on the grid there. And also Action Express. I know the first couple of times racing at Le Mans has been kind of difficult for them, so I'm sure they hope to improve and be more in the mix. And then get Wayne Taylor racing finally at Le Mans. No, Wayne Taylor has said time and time again he wants to bring his team to Le Mans and compete for the overall win, and that is finally happening now. Unfortunately, when they were with Acura, that wasn't able to happen because Acura's, gone on the record a few times saying that they have no interest in going to Le Mans right now. Hopefully that will change in the future. It'll be really nice to see Acura competing for the overall win at Le Mans. But Cadillac want to be in all the big races. They want to be in the Rolex 24. They want to be in the 24 Hours Le Mans. So to switch to Cadillac, make this a possibility for Wayne Taylor to get that entry for his sons Ricky and Jordan Taylor, and also Philippe Albuquerque as well, who has also been on the record saying that he wanted to compete for the overall win at Le Mans again. So Wayne Taylor gets to go to one of the biggest sports car races in the world with both of his sons, and Philippe Albuquerque gets to fulfill his wish as well. Really looking forward to seeing how this team is going to do in its first go around. Kind of like with Action Express and IMSA when we're having the Rolex 24, 12 hours of Sebring, the 6 hours of the Glen, the Petite Le Mans, or even the Battle on the Bricks at the IMS Road Course. Action Express is, usually up there competing, same as Wayne Taylor Racing. And when Action Express went over to the other side of the pond in the World Endurance Championship, they were essentially like a back marker, in the class, having a very hard time. So I want to see how Wayne Taylor Racing is going to adjust to being in the World Endurance Championship since it's going to be brand new to them. Are they going to be right in the thick of the field? Are they going to be battling for the win, or is it going to be like Action Express, who's had a really tough time in their short Le Mans tenure?
Good evening, Kobe. Good evening, Josh. Hello, everybody. Happy March to everybody. Our first show of month 3 of the year. This is big, isn't it? I mean, as you say, Kobe, Wayne has been trying to get there for a while in whatever shape or form he could do. And with all the rules coming together over the last couple of years, this opened the opportunity for him. And as you say, Acura kind of declining any interest in going to France. Maybe that will change in the future now with the full HRC lineup that they or link up that they've got going for this year. We'll have to see how that progresses. But switching back to Cadillac, as we saw from the statement, he's got history there with this brand, and now he's bringing his two boys back together to run with Felipe Albuquerque. That is just a strong driver lineup as it is. I think it's really good. If you're ready to tune into the Sebring 12 Hours next weekend, expect there to be a lot of this chat on the broadcast over the weekend and then talking to Wayne and etc., because that's going to be one of the key talking points, I'm sure, on the NBC portion of the broadcast. So big to have a fully fledged American team that aren't just coming in to this just to do this race. It's a full IMSA lineup. So really, really good, really exciting. And with the other, three Cadillacs on the entry list, plenty for the American fan to cheer in the top class and below, as we'll get to in a moment.
Yes, and in LMP2, there are 17 entries representing IMSA, European Le Mans Series, and Asia Le Mans Series to make up the grid as well. Adam says he can't wait for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So much history regarding memories, drivers, and cars that have competed, and definitely that can be said for LMP2 as it makes its only appearance on the WEC calendar this season. Now, Jamie Chadwick will make a Le Mans debut with IDEX Sport. United Autosports is back with 2 entries, and the most notable driver in their lineup is IMSA regular Rainier Zandervan as well coming in. Now, leading in the number 22 team as well. Now, that's Renger van der Zande. My God, my eyes are really closing today, aren't they? Theo Pourchaire will make his Le Mans debut with the Algarve Pro Racing. Inter-Europol competition is bringing up a solid lineup with Jacob Szymanski as well, Tom Dillman and Nick Yellerly as well. Now, coming in, we'll also see the AO Racing by TF Sport bringing Spike the Dragon back to Le Mans with PJ Hyatt, Dane Cameron, and another driver that is yet to be announced. Matt, starting with you on this one as well. Who will we have the most to gain by competing in LMP2 this year?
It's going to be interesting. It was a good race in LMP2 that was raced last year from memory. It's their, as you said, Josh, it's their only appearance in the World Endurance Championship of the season, and now we know it's the full top class in the European Le Mans Series, as it was in the Asian Le Mans Series, which we've talked about in the Grid EPI over the last couple of weeks. Plenty of spaces on that entry list still to fill out with drivers, of course, and we talked last week about Logan Sargent being on that list until last week when he stepped away from his program, so another seat's opened up there. Who's got the most to gain? I think you're going to see the regulars at the front, United, IDEX Sport, Algarve Pro Racing. They're going to be the big sort of free hitters in this race that we're talking about, and of course in the European Le Mans Series as a whole. A little bit more coverage on the European Le Mans Series we get further in. This is the year on the Grid Network, we hope. Yeah, there's plenty of drivers and plenty of good teams in that category. Good to see Renger getting across there and jumping in with United, because he will be an absolute gun in that car. Anything he goes in, he goes very well in. So that's good to see. And yeah, plenty of more drivers to fill, which will perhaps fill out more of the full season European Le Mans Series entries that are yet to be announced as well.
Yeah, there's still a lot to look forward to when it comes to the European Le Mans Series later in the year. But focusing on the grid for 24 Hours Le Mans. I think all 17 of these entries they're gonna come out swinging because as we've been saying, this is their only time this year that they're gonna be on the big stage in the World Endurance Championship since the WC has decided to prioritize the hypercars and all the LMGT3s over LMP2 because if you had LMP2 in there, you would have to cut down on the other entries. And with the hypercar class exploding in entries, I think that they're probably ended up making the right decision to make sure you can get all of those manufacturers in there. And they've even talked about, adding more space for Le Mans, like you building even more garages so we can have more cars. You already got 62. It makes you wonder how many more cars we could have. I remember the days when we had garage 56, and now we're up to 62. It's just continuing to grow, and it's just a beautiful thing to see for sports car racing. But if I'm looking at one driver in particular, with something to prove, who can probably gain a lot from not just the 24 Hours Le Mans, but overall this season in LMP2 is Teo Pourchaire. I think this is a great opportunity for him to show what he can do in sports car racing. I know it's going to be brand new to him, and I believe he's also the reserve driver for the Peugeot hypercar program, which is really struggling right now. I'll be surprised if they're still in the sport 2 to 3 years from now, given how much they've struggled. But still, is a good opportunity for him to be affiliated with a hypercar program and showing the great speed we saw from him when he was in Formula 2, when he was an F1 reserve driver, and the limited running we saw for him with Aaron McLaren in the NTT IndyCar Series. I think Teo Pourchaire is an extremely talented race car driver. It's a shame he's not in an IndyCar grid this year, or even on the F1 grid. I think he's a really great driver, but being able to run the 24 Hours Le Mans as a Frenchman and get a full season of LMP2 in the European Le Mans Series, I think it's going to be a really good experience for him.
Now, once again, the LMGT3 will see a diverse lineup of different manufacturers, with most entries from the WEC and a few one-offs. 2 Aston Martins from the Heart of Racing team and the Racing Spirit of Le Mans. TF Sport will field 2 Corvettes, and an additional Corvette entry will come from IMSA GTD team as well. The AWA Racing with Aurel Ferdani as well, Lars Kern and Matt Bell behind the wheel. Now we'll see 5 Ferraris from Vista AF Corsa, Kessel Racing, Richard Millet AF Corsa, and the Ziggo Sport Tempster as well. Now Team WRT is fielding 2 BMWs, 2 McLarens from United Autosport. Proton Competition is representing Ford with a pair of Mustang GT3 entries, plus 2 Lexus entries from a Codis ASP team. Porsche will have 3 entries, 2 from the Manthey and a 3rd from the Iron Dames, who are back with Porsche, and they will have Selena Martin joining Rachel Frey and Sarah Bovey behind the wheel as well. Meanwhile, the Iron Lynx will enter 3 Mercedes AMG-GT3s as well. Now, with 62 cars entered altogether, there are also 6 entries on the reserve list. There are 3 LMP2s from DKI Engineering, the Duquesne team and Vector Sport, 2 Ferraris from GR Racing and JMW Motorsport in the LMGT3, and a 2nd Proton Competition Porsche in Hypercar. Now, these teams will have to play the waiting game and hope that other confirmed entries withdraw from Le Mans. Now, which LMGT3 driver lineup immediately caught your eye? And do you think that it's fair for the Proton 2nd Hypercar entry to have to sit on the reserve list?
Well, when I look at with the entry list, the one lineup that really caught my eye is one of the Iron Lynx's Mercedes, and it's the entry with Stephen Grove, Brennan Grove, and the Mercedes factory driver Lucas Stoltz. And I was just reading recently about this story. I know Adam will really appreciate this in the chat room, because the Groves had the supercars team, the Penrite Racing team, and they also have a sports car racing program as well that's been competing in GT World Challenge Australia, and also you've seen them in the Bathurst 12-hour year after year as well. And I was reading the story about the Grove family and how they're so excited to go to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, how this is like one of the last big endurance races that they want to compete in here, and they're going to be able to do this in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So very exciting time for the Grove family to be able to race in one of the biggest sports car races on the planet, and then to be with a great manufacturer like Mercedes, with a solid team like the Iron Lynx, and then you have a factory driver, Lucas Stoltz, who's one of the best you can possibly get in this situation. So I think the Groves have a really good thing going for them in Le Mans LMGT3, and there's still a whole bunch of great driver lineups, but that's what I'm going to choose since we don't really have that much time to go through lineup by lineup. And in regards to the Proton second hypercar entry sitting on the sidelines, yeah, I was a little surprised to see a hypercar, like that, especially a Porsche hypercar on the reserve list. But hey, at least they got first dibs if someone's going to pull out. So I think 9 times out of 10, when the first entry list comes out, you're going to see someone pull out. So I'm confident that the second Proton Porsche is going to end up getting into the race some way, somehow. But I think unless it's a questionable hypercar entry, I think these hypercars, they should be able to get on the entry list. I understand you want to be fair to the LMGT3 teams and the LMP2s, but I really think, if you have a hypercar ready to go and it's going to be a high quality program that Proton puts together, I feel like that should have been on the original entry list. It's not like it's a Van Wall or something else floating out there, which would probably be on the reserve list if they had put out an entry. But yeah, I was a little surprised to see Proton second hypercar Porsche be on the reserve list.
I have to agree with you about the Groves. Lots of people were very skeptical when the rules changed a couple of years ago to, no, it's the beginning of last year, wasn't it? When we brought GT3 into the WEC at the expense of GTE. But this is great for those regional based teams like Grove Racing that, ply their trade at home. And they've been to Dubai for the 24 hours. They've done the Abu Dhabi Golf 12 hours. Bathurst, as you mentioned, of course, Stephen Grove was the man that had the big crash at the top of the hill in the 12 hours and damaged his back at the beginning of February. They've done the National Series, and they can do those regional stuff. And then if they get the opportunity to go to the big show at Le Mans, I mean, it is tremendous. Hopefully we get to see a few more of those national or regional entries for someone from Asia, another European, or maybe even a British team from the British GT Championship, if that was ever to happen, or even someone from GT World Challenge USA to come over. That would be great. So that's all really positive. Hypercar Porsche on the reserve list. You're right. There is probably going to be one team pull out some shape or form, crash, drivers injured or pull out, loose funding, etc., etc. That kind of happens pretty much every year. I would have liked to have seen another LMP2 car at the top of the list, if I'm totally honest, as this is their only one and only shot to be in a WEC race. But as we talked about, there's plenty of those on the list anyway. And Proton have already got one bullet in the chamber with their full WEC entry in the race. So going to be interesting to see how that works out. Adam is with us, Kobe. He's looking forward to seeing how the Groves do at Le Mans in June.